Thanks for joining us wherever you are on the Temple of the Earth. Just give me a moment, we'll set up the slides for our presentation, Mystical Statuary of the World. As is our custom, we're going to start with a meditation, so you may prepare yourself for that. At this point, I think you'll be seeing the first slide okay. Now it's quite wonderful how the human, the visage, or the face or countenance, and the hand gestures and form can be keys to draw forth and realize the presence of the divine within, the master within. And we'll have an opportunity to do that today, looking at various masterworks of sculpture from around the world in different cultures. At this point, I'd like you to get prepared for meditation, but take in the image that's before us, which may intrigue you. It's sort of a misty scene. It's from CERN. CERN operates the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. And unveiled on June 18th, 2004, was a 2-meter tall statue here in the center, which was a gift from the government of India. And it's of a Nataraja, the Lord of the Dance. We're going to zoom in on a related work that's actually from the Cleveland Museum of Art, which I think some of you know. It's in a beautiful large glass room with other masterpieces of Hindu art. When I visited there a few years back, it was near the time of the sunset, so you could see the sculptures in the late day sunlight. It was fantastic. So here we have the Nataraja Shiva as the Lord of the Dance. It's South Indian, Tamil Nadu, from the Chola period, would be from about 900 to the 1200s. It's in bronze. The height of this particular work is approximately 113 centimeters, or about 44.5 inches. But the bronze, it's heavy. It weighs about 257 pounds. The Nataraja work is a very inspiring one, which I think many of you are quite familiar with, but I'll say a few things about it to help us when we in our attunement with the cosmic in a moment. Now we have before us the Hindu god of creative and destructive energy, Shiva. And it's good to point out, as some Hindu priests have mentioned to me, is that Hinduism is not pantheistic. It views there as the one Godhead, or the one divine. All these different gods are different manifestations or aspects of that one divinity. Now this sculpture was very skillfully made, as I mentioned, in bronze. And it's a wonderful and comprehensive expression of what Rosicrucian students speak of as nous, N-O-U-S, the universal cosmic creative force. The great circle around the Lord Shiva is symbolic of this nous essence. You'll notice that there's rings of fire around Shiva as he dances. This is the manifestation by evolution and devolution of the positive polarity of nous, which we call the vital life force of the cosmic essence, and the negative polarity, the spirit, which gives rise to physical phenomena. We can think of ourselves as a marriage between, or unity between, the vital life force, the cosmic essence, and that spirit energy. In this great dance of Shiva, we can see symbolized the mighty creation of galaxies, the bonding of atoms at the microscopic level to form molecules, and later imbuing with the vital life force to give rise to the living being, as spoken of in the Rosicrucian fundamental law of ontology. So you can see it was a very befitting gift from the government of India to CERN, where it has its large particle physics accelerators through large tunnels that it symbolized all that dynamic action and laws of mastery that we've been learning through the modern physics. Another thing along these lines that's very wonderful about this sculpture is that it shows the old mystical vowel sound or mantra, Om, spelled by some as A-U-M or O-M. This vowel sound is said to be representative of the vibrations of the entire cosmic mind and universe. In contemplation of the sculpture, the Hindu devotee is said to psychically attune with Om. This wonderfully tying in of the sculpture with the vowel sound Om and its mental meaning is suggestive of what the Rosicrucians refer to as the cosmic keyboard, the entire sea of vibrations on a great cosmic dance of Shiva. Indeed, this sculpture, if you've ever been to classical Indian dance performance, often at the very beginning, the dancers will pay homage or pranam to the sculpture symbolizing the Lord of the dance, of which they are emulating, in a way emulating the cosmic. Or if you've been to pujas in the Hindu tradition, you'll see sometimes you'll see Shiva in this form or others, where they'll be adorned in various ways and clothed and paying their respects in the worship of Shiva. Again, though, this is a form of cosmic attunement. The Rosicrucian order is not a religion, but we do look to understanding things in all things, including religions, their deep spiritual nature of them. The Rosicrucian order stresses laws and principles and not belief, but knowing things firsthand. There's much more wealth of symbolism in this sculpture, but this is sufficient for purposes of our presentation today and the meditation we'll do. Now that you've had a good chance to look at this dynamic image of movement and dance, keep it in mind as we rise up into the cosmic and work with the various forces symbolized by it and by the work of the scientists at CERN. So at this time, I invite you to close your eyes and we'll have a period of cosmic attunement with the celestial sanctum. Take a few deep neutral breaths. That is either holding the inhalation or holding the exhalation. Just enjoy the great rhythm of the universe through your breath. It's a surprisingly simple act, but it's a very healing one, a deeply relaxing one, particularly through the vagus nerve as we exhale, particularly if you prolong that exhalation. Because we're doing this in a spiritual way, we are going to spiritualize or transmute this activity of breath to help bring out the vital life force, to further charge the spirit energy in the body. You may even already feel a great tingling in the body, a very enriching tingling. Now, as we prepare to ascend to the heights of the celestial sanctum, let us say together, may the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body. I may attune with the celestial sanctum in pureness and worthiness. So be it in truth, so mote it be. Now in your mind, rise up over the room that you're in. Look down on the house where you are, or the dwelling. And start to take in the geographic area around you, whatever it may be, a town or a city. Feel the exhilaration of seeing this expanded vision. This helps the outer mind have that expanded inner vision of the cosmic. Let us rise up higher and higher again. Do this with great inner energy and yet with a profound ease because we're drawing on the force of the master within, the God within. As you rise up over the city, start to take in the province or state where you live. See all the people down there going about their activities and their missions and lives. And as you continue to rise up, come up over even the country where you are. And see the beautiful view of your nation, the great weather systems below. And rise up faster and faster. Don't be passive now. We'll be passive when we get to the celestial sanctum where we'll surrender. But use great inner force, but use it in a way with ease and exhilaration. See the continent that you live on, and now even the hemisphere. Rising up faster and faster, see the beautiful blue jewel of the earth and sense its great rotations about its axis. And continue to see the great solar system and the fiery ball of the sun, our sun and star. And the red planet of Mars and the great rings of Saturn and the huge planet of Jupiter revolving about the sun. Again, revolving and rotation actions that we're taking in. Pass by the solar system and sense the great arm of the Milky Way galaxy, which is our home. Travel faster and faster beyond all the stars and stellar phenomena, the pulsars, the quasars, the binary stars, the supernovae, the black holes, the great jets shooting out from them. Take in the great black hole that's at the very center of our galaxy, of which we revolve about at tremendous speed. Keep going faster and faster and rise right out of the Milky Way galaxy and look at its great spiraling arms, a thing of great beauty and awe, suggestive of the cosmic to us and the cosmic consciousness. Now rise up higher and higher and take in other galaxies, some spiraling of different natures, nebulae and clusters of galaxies. Continue to feel the exhilaration and beauty of the ascent. All the dynamic motions of the universe, measured at CERN on the microscopic and atomic level, but also on the macroscopic level that you're taking in now, all working together. Just like all the myriad actions within your body, think of yourself now in the body of the universe, matching your temple, the body you dwell in. This is our greater home, matching our microcosmic body. And rise up faster and faster. Start to sense the great motion, not only the superclusters of galaxies, but the entirety of the universe itself. Just as the Earth rotates about an axis and our Milky Way galaxy rotates about an axis, so the entirety of the cosmos rotates about a great axis. As we move faster and faster, come towards that great central axis at its center point. And as you come toward it, slow up and visualize your celestial sanctum there. That may be an inspiring temple. It may be a cathedral. Or it may be a mandir, or a stupa, or gurdwara, or some other sacred place too, like the Grand Temple in San Jose, the Rosicrucians. Or maybe an inspiring place in nature. But enter in there with a prayer of gratitude on your lips. See around you other Rosicrucians seated nearby and other seekers of like mind. Take your seat now there and fill in through the mind and your powers of memory and observation the beautiful symbolism of the place. There may be wondrous stained glass windows portray various Rosicrucian laws and principles. There may be incense of an inspiring, invigorating nature. There may be various sounds of chanting of mantras or vowel sounds. Maybe the convocation of our imperator, chief executive officer of order, and the grand masters, the different grand lodges. As you fill in the sights and the sound of an inspiring nature, rise up through the vibrations of the cosmic keyboard, and let us take some time to dwell there in stillness as we now be passive and surrender the outer nature to the inner nature. Feel a great sense of well-being, a great sense of healing and energy throughout our body as the vital life force attunes us with the cosmic. If you find the mind wandering, just lovingly and gently, with no judgment, just bring it back to concentration on the breath in your celestial sanctum, at the center of your being, at the center of the cosmos. As you dwell in profound peace, or as the Rosicrucians say, peace profound at this great center. Just feel whatever there is to feel. If you're comfortable, just let go of who you are and where you are. Just feel whatever you can feel. The physical, through the mental, emotional, the psychic, and the deep mystical and spiritual, overarching and imbued in all these things. Transcend now your own nature and go into this deep center. In this manner, we'll experience the cosmic, which is a beautiful term the Rosicrucians have for the divine intelligence back of the cosmos and all the natural and spiritual laws that are at work. Just dwell at the heights of the celestial sanctum, attuning with the cosmic. You may even wish to visualize your mind expanding out from this center, the cosmos, to encompass the entirety of the cosmos, to be one with the cosmic mind, to be the cosmic mind, to assume the cosmic mind now. Now, as we continue to apply the law of cosmic attunement, let us also apply the law of service and join in the work of what the Rosicrucians call the silent council, in conjunction with the work of the Council of Solace, all those who have petitioned the Rosicrucian order, the healing and metaphysical aid. Through the Grand Lodge and through affiliate bodies where you may attend, let us radiate love and well-being from the center of our being, from our head and our heart, out to all those who have petitioned, and all those in need at this time, and all those sentient beings throughout the cosmos. Just let the love and well-being flow from your being. Just let it happen. At first, use great inner force to do it, but soon I think you'll find it flows naturally and easily, even unconsciously. And when that starts to happen, continue to dwell in peace profound. I will formally conclude this period of the work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Souls, but we'll continue our meditation. But to conclude this period of the radiation of love and well-being, let us say, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So be it in truth, so mote it be. Now let us dwell a while longer, fratres and sorors and participants, at the heights of the celestial sanctum in exhilarating cosmic attunement. Now shortly we'll begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum, assured that inwardly the radiation of love and well-being will continue for all in need, and this deep sense of cosmic attunement and oneness with all will continue to uplift us and ennoble us and help guide us for the rest of this day and the rest of our lives. Let us express gratitude at this opportunity to participate in the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order and the opportunity to be of service. Now let us begin our descent from the heights of the celestial sanctum, speeding past the superclusters of galaxies and all the wondrous stellar phenomena such as the pulsars, the quasars, binary stars, the supernovae, seeing various individual nebulae and galaxies and myriad stars, the great system and order of the universe we call the cosmos. And soon come to the great spiraling Milky Way galaxy, our home. Come back to the great arm of the Milky Way galaxy where our solar system is, and come back into the galaxy, past myriad stars, finally to the star that is our sun, and see the great dynamic revolutions of our solar system, and the beautiful blue jewel of the earth, and the hemisphere where we live, and the continent, and the country, and the province or state, the city or town or geographic area. And let us say together, may God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum. So be it in truth, so mote it be. And let us come back into our dwelling, to the temple of our body, refreshed, rejuvenated, and strengthened to discharge our duties and continue the work of the worship of this presentation of this day. And when you're ready, you may wish to open your eyes and stretch, and we'll begin the presentation proper. Thank you. The next sculpture that will continue is one of the masterpieces of humankind's art. Some of you will recognize it as the head of a ruler, Oni, from the 12th or 15th century. It's in the National Museum of Ife in Nigeria. I know many of you are very familiar with Nigeria in terms of your upbringing and your travels. It's one of the artistic masterpieces of the world of Africa, and in particular, the Yoruba people of Nigeria. It used, in a masterful way, the lost wax casting method in bronze and similar metals. Some of the other masterpieces of Ife and the Yoruba people are done in terracotta. You notice that there's a green coloration. That's from chemical reaction over the centuries. The original would have been a shining bronze, if you can imagine. You'll notice on a full frontal view the wonderful articulation of the royal headpiece here and the superb sculpting of the human head. We know from the Yoruba tradition and the sacred conception of the sovereign and of the human being that the outer head draws one to the inner head and spiritual being. We see here in this work the great dignity and wisdom of the Ani ruler. The figure has been interpreted as a feminine form or that of a woman. You'll see the wonderful linear forms curving around, forming along in the face, the way that it's done. The metallurgic scientists, the British Museum, are a way astounded by the skill of the lost wax casting that was done in this. It's a wonderful expression of technology meeting spirituality. The concept of the sovereign is a very important one because in a way we're all drawn to be the sovereign, the inner master in ourselves. And such inspiring works as this can help bring that to us. And we see the various enriching ways that culture can lead us in that way. The culture we were born into, but also the culture, other cultures of the world. In that regard, I want to show you another masterpiece of sculpture. It's a Buddha draped in robes, and it portrays the realms of existence. It's from the Northern Qi dynasty, which dated from 550 to 577 of the Common Era. It's limestone, it's Chinese, from the Hunan province. It's about 151.3 centimeters high. Some of you may have seen it in the Freer Gallery of Art, the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, DC. It's known as the cosmological Buddha because on it are portrayed the various scenes of existence in the cosmos, to do with the cosmos, but also the Buddha's various incarnations, that of the historical Buddha or Sakyamuni. As I mentioned, it's in a gray marble. In it, we see the cosmos as the body of the Buddha or the awakened one. The principles of the macrocosm and the microcosm are illustrated, following the alchemical adage that we know in the West as above, so below. We see in it too, the cosmic, or what's referred to as divine assumption, like we did in our meditation when we attuned and became one with the cosmic mind. The Buddha represents compassion for all persons, all life forms, unconditional caring, known through deep mystical experience. And those compassions and developments of lessons through our lives, symbolized through the Buddha's lives, are shown in this robe of the Buddha, which is shown as a monastic robe or renunciant's robe. However, that can be viewed as symbolic because the Rosicrucian order we stress balance of turning inward, but also work in the world, which the Buddha ultimately did as well. In this, by the law of suggestion, we can sense what the Rosicrucians refer to as harmonium and peace profound that we experienced in our meditation. Here's another depiction of the sculpture. This was done by some very recent surveying technology that shoots beams of light on the sculpture and can give a very highly accurate document of the sculpture back and front. It's been done by various sculptures, including the Statue of Liberty. In some ways, this helps to see some of the detailed scenes in the passages through the Buddha's life and experience. I noticed from these, such as these sculptures and other ones that I've noted for example, in the Chinese tradition that we're talking about here. Often when you get close to them, there's a strong sense of spiritual energy in them. Rosicrucians for that is telekinetic energy. Often you hold a person's watch or something, you get a sense of things about them. These sculptures often will have centuries of devotion done before them in a temple, and they get highly charged from the devotees in that fashion. In a way, this work is a wonderful depiction of self-mastery. You notice that over time, the head and the hands have been lost. That's not uncommon. You notice there's actually spots where they would actually fit in or plug in. It would have been the Avida mudra, I think, which many of you are familiar with, where the Buddha would bring up the right hand, where the energy of the cosmic essence flows down, and then with the left hand would be face down, as you can see. That would be a very powerful benediction. There's also a related mudra to that, where the Buddha would hold the right hand up, but then the left hand horizontal in fearlessness or courage. There's a story of a raging elephant that he pacified, just like in all the challenges in our life. If we face them with the master within, they'll be pacified, become calm, just like the elephant charging the Buddha and his fearful disciples. Additionally, on this sculpture, you'll find things of various celestial meaning. For example, the Buddha's body, just like the stupa temple for Buddhist worship, is a cosmic axis. Just like that cosmic axis we became part of in our meditation period. There's also experiences here that are symbolically of a hellish nature and an ecstatic nature. These are these things that we create through our minds and thoughts and thinking that are dealt with by the noble truths of the Buddha, but also through all mystical traditions as we come into wisdom, such as through the Rosicrucian tradition. Another sculpture I'd like to show you now is done by an Inuit artist. His name is Abraham Anghik Rubens, so his Inuit name is Anghik. It's entitled Memories, an Ancient Past, and this is a front view. It's actually from a large whalebone, which he was very excited to receive. Now, Abraham, or Anak, was born in 1951 in a camp south of Palatuk in the Northwest Territories, now in what's called Canada, and east of the Mackenzie River Delta. This region is home to the Mackenzie Inuit, or the Inuvialuit. But the Inuit stretch very widely, for example, in the east, well over to Labrador. Now, Abraham's own great-grandparents, they were noted shamans. And shamans fundamentally are mystics. They're intensely involved with the well-being of their communities and healing. And their names were Apik, Kark, and Kagan. And they came from the Bering Sea region of what is known as Alaska. And by the time Abraham's birth, in 1951, Inuit culture was in the midst of profound change that would forever alter their traditional way of life and set the stage for Anuk's quest to come into deeper understanding of his culture and connect with his roots. In Abraham's quest to reconnect with his past form, in 1971, he attended the Native Arts Center at the University of Alaska, studying under the renowned professor and artist Ronald Senganituk. Now, part of the profound meaning of this sculpture is at the very center, you notice a figure that appears to have like a black head and a black central region. This is a great shaman. He's standing the shaman is standing with outreached arms, embracing, you'll see, a man and a woman. The shaman's head is hollow as is the chest. This represents the shaman's or the mystic's ability to travel between the spirit world and the physical world, just like we did in our period of cosmic attunement, though we use different terminology. The chest cavity is hollow, showing a stylized rib cage here. This represents the shaman's death and rebirth, for the Inuit are very familiar with reincarnation. And this also shows the shamans becoming more powerful spiritually through this attuned force. The man and the woman represent the duality in nature, but also humankind. You also notice depicted here is a great raven. And the raven created the land, its lakes and rivers. And the raven, the flora and fauna populate and color the landscape. Also, it's interesting that one night when man slept, the raven created the woman from clay of the riverbank where the man rested. In the morning, it is said, the man awoke to find the woman next to him, and the raven spoke to them saying, man, this is woman. She is to be your companion and your equal. Together you will make home from what I've created. And the generations of people that are below resulted, are portrayed in the sculpture. You'll notice over here in the upper left of the sculpture is an image of a mother and a child. There's a very profound meaning here. See, for the Inuit, children were brought up with loving care. As we know this with the Rosicrucian tradition, particularly the importance of that period even before of the giving of the birth, but the period of the pregnancy, those 7 years in particular. Children are often thought to be deceased relatives reborn as children because of the reincarnation. For this reason, there was a reverence for children as the reborn elders. And also for the women who raised them, because this is a central role in society that's depicted here. Also very important in this, you'll see that as the child sits here, as a child would be prepared to be a shaman, there was a certain downplaying of the physical nourishment and even human contact for a period, so the child could enter into the spiritual world and be helped by the spirit helpers. As soon as that happens, then the child would be ready for years of strenuous training in order to become a person worthy of the status of a mediator between the human and the spirit world. You'll see various other images here. I'll show you the back side of it here. You'll see that they're shamans and they have their drums. Those are used to go into a trance state, to rise up into the spirit world. Similar way of doing things as we did in our spiritual meditation at the beginning of this session. There's various other symbolism of the humans, and also there's a depiction of Sedna, who is the goddess of the sea, and the shamans would make contact with her because she would work and help welfare for the community and make sure that they were well fed from the things of the sea. So you see depicted in this work a wonderful sense of unity, and it's a divinity called memories, an ancient past. Traditionally, the shaman was at the heart of the Inuit community, and that's a key for their well-being. In addition, the shaman is at the heart of all communities, the mystic and the deep tradition of knowing fully the master within, the God within, that can then properly guide human action at both the individual and society level. There's another inspiring work of art that I want to show you by another First Nations person named Joe Jacobs. He's of the Cayuga or Bear Clan of the Haudenosaunee, the Six Nations. The title of the work is The Timeless Legend of Tadaho. It's actually 51 centimeters high. It's made in steadite, and it's 150 pounds in its weight. And this is from the Weetung Gallery, Curve Lake First Nations in Ontario. Now, Tadaho was a great and respected chief or sachem. You can see that by the headdress that he has on here with feathers, and also the deer antler here that was on both sides. He was of the Onondaga Nation, who worked with the great peacemaker, or the Danahawa, in the formation of the 5 nations, which later became the 6 nations. Traditional lands were in the Figure Lake district. It said the creator took his hand and just drew with his fingers through to carve out those Finger Lakes. But their traditional lands would also extend out to Buffalo and into Ontario, and also into part of Quebec and some of eastern New York State. But then a lot of this is in upstate New York, where I know you live, as part of the sacred meaning of where you live. It's striking that while Joe Jacobs was recovering from an injury in the workplace, Joe began to delve deeply into his culture, learning from wise elders. We all need to do this in our own way. No matter what's been said about our culture, the deep wisdom is there. He discovered as he recuperated, because that's often the time for people to tune with the cosmic and reflect, that he discovered that a talent for stone carving came out. Indeed, an awakening that we would call in the Rosicrucian tradition. And this work, as I mentioned, tells of the great law of the Haudenosaunee. The great law talks about how humankind can live in peace and harmony. You'll see in the work that there's actually a great tree of peace here, where the weapons of war were placed under. There's also within it a variety of other symbolism, which I'll mention a few things. You'll see the turtle that is a symbol of the earth below, but also note the great globe of the earth, and the eagle up above, which is a guardian of the people, and various other sacred symbols, the Haudenosaunee. Very important about the story here is that when the peacemaker went among the Haudenosaunee, who had been warring and not at peace, one of the important figures that he gathered with him was Hiawatha, who had been trying to preach peace. But the avatar, the great peacemaker, or Denanawich, they met with Junahanasi, who were the mother of nations, and spoke with her on how to heal the fearsome and troubled Tadadaho. So he would come into the good mind, or the cosmic mind, or cosmic consciousness associated with the avatar, the great peacemaker. The great law provides a detailed constitution. It was actually the basis from the Rosicrucian sage and certain other early Rosicrucian sonnet, how they could form, just like the five nations, then later the six nations that formed a United States. The Europeans that had come got the idea that they could form a United States as well. Another thing that struck the early Europeans coming to this land, Turtle Island in North America, was that they had generally not seen women treated well. That surprised them. And ultimately, many of the great reformers in the feminist tradition, particularly of upstate New York, like Louisa May Alcott or Lucretia Mott or Elizabeth K. Stanton, looked very closely to how the Haudenosaunee governed and the great respect for women. And some of them became honorary members of individual nations. These women, such as I mentioned, they talk about this, but historically it has only recently, those writings have been taken more seriously, part of where much of their teachings came from. Another thing that greatly impressed the early Europeans, including the French Jesuits in their records, was that they had not seen such community cooperative-based large-scale agricultural production before. It's how a community can work together for the welfare of others. These are some of the important lessons that the European settlers are still learning. Now, here's another great work of sculpture that I'd like to talk to you about. It's a picture of what the Romans would call the imperator, or the emperor. In the Rosicrucian tradition, we have an imperator has a somewhat different meaning but it is a leader. This is the Emperor Augustus Caesar, the Roman emperor who reigned from 27 BCE to 14 CE. This work of sculpture is known as the Augusta Prima Porta, because there's a statue found at Prima Porta of the villa, or the first gate, or great gate of the Villa of Livia, who is the partner or wife of Augustus. And she was living on the north side, or just north of Rome. Now it's a marble work, and it's somewhat over life size. It's a 203 centimeters high. It's in the Vatican museums, and it dates from the 1st century CE, and it's thought to be a copy of a bronze original, possibly a colossal bronze original done actually during the time of Augustus' reign. Some art historians have pointed out the bare feet here tends to suggest iconographically that this particular marble copy was done after the earthly life of the Roman emperor. We know from this sculpture that there are actually paint fragments. If you can picture this in bright colors, right down to the color of the eyes of the emperor. We can see great skill in the articulation of the draped attire and the cuirass, or the strengthened and treated leather armored breastplate with lots of iconography on it that I'll mention in a moment. But I wanted to draw your attention to Cupid down below here, who is the son of Venus. He's riding here a dolphin because Venus was born from the sea. And we see this at the lower right leg of Augustus, which linked him with the ancient hero Aeneas, who had come from Greece, a legendary founder of Rome, who's the son of Venus. So you see back of this is the sacred feminine. You see that Augustus is descended from Venus and the gods here. Now, something that's very important about this sculpture is it is based on bringing back what they viewed as the golden age of Greece. And one way that you would do that is through the golden age sculpture. We see here the Doryphus, which is the cannon sculpture, the spear bearer athlete. The original sculpture would have had a spear or a javelin. And this was done by the renowned Greek artist Polykleitos that Plato greatly praised. It's done in a very realistic form, just as this sculpture here. Now this is a marble copy by the Romans again, but the Greek original would date from around 450, 440 BCE. And this cannon sculpture was accompanied by a text on the sculpture of Polykleitos that followed Pythagorean conceptions, very important. This work ties in very closely with Pythagoras, of number, proportion, and the harmonious relations of the parts to the body of the whole. And Polykleitos made a sculpture in bronze, later copy, to show how beauty arises, it manifests in the world through number and proportion, through the Pythagorean ideals. You'll notice, what's this sculpture got to do this? We'll look at the contrapposto positioning here. The original sculpture has looked to this earlier Greek masterpiece and Roman copy to help bring the golden age of Rome from the golden age of Greece. You see the contrapposto, it's a dynamic action of the feet here. The body is very similar, except the arm here is raised in the magnus matus of the great orator, with his divine right of leadership, but also guiding and protecting the people. Arm here on the drapery rather than holding a javelin, but we see a youthful, younger than he would have been at the time of the sculpture, a youthful monarch or emperor, suggesting a timelessness of the canon sculpture. But also there's a very serious countenance, and the way that the face is the serious quality of being an emperor and looking out for the guidance and well-being of others. On the cuirass itself, or the armored breastplate, there's a wealth of symbolism and iconography, as art historians mention. On it, I will elaborate some for you. Up here is the sky god. Here's the sun god, and the moon or the dawn. Some art historians, even one of my colleagues, identified this is Venus again. So we see here astrological and astronomical symbolism. Very important, at the center of this, we see a Parthian who is returning back the very sacred standards of the Romans. They had lost them in some battles with the Parthian Empire. But the Roman, now as the Roman Republic had lost them, but now the great emperor issuing in the Roman Empire has made arrangements to return back in his dominance and strength the standards of great symbolic meaning to the legions of the Romans. That was something that the emperor was much respected for. On either side, we see captives here under the subjugation of the emperor. Lower down was association again of the emperor with the gods and the Roman people with gods. We find Apollo with his lyre, which is the cosmic harmony of the universe would be played out. Tellus as a goddess of the earth. And also we see Diana, the huntress. So we see both in stellar phenomenon gods and also the various divine attributes of gods. The emperor as a wise sovereign and descendant of Venus, but also guiding with the wisdom of the divine mind, just as we tried in our own way and assumed and achieved in our meditation earlier. Now, many of you are probably thinking about when you see this sculpture, a variety of things of interest to you in it, and thinking about Rosicrucian Park, because in earlier years there was a bronze copy of this that when Ralph M. Lewis was imperator, he arranged for a bronze copy of the marble, which most likely went back to even further to the original in bronze from earlier times. So in a way, this could be a copy of a copy we see, but it's done in a very careful way as they went from copy to copy. He arranged for this for his father, who was at that time the imperator or chief executive officer of the Rosicrucian order, Harvey Spencer Lewis. And it's on the grounds of Rosicrucian Park. And behind it is the Rosicrucian Planetarium, befitting because there's a variety of astronomical symbolism in here, and also the association with Pythagoras, the harmony of the universe. This sculpture, though, was moved later on to the Luxor complex, which is beside the great temple of the Grand Lodge of the Portuguese language jurisdiction of Amorque in Brazil. The space was dedicated on September 21st in 2016. Some of you may have been there on the occasion of the opening of the 24th Rosicrucian Natural Convention by the Imperator, Frère Christian Bernard, who's here, and Grand Master Frère Helio de Moors Marquis, while they're dedicating the Luxor complex and this sculpture. And you see that the sculpture is that sort of a headpiece of the Luxor complex here. It's very befitting because of the many Rosicrucian laws and principles that I have alluded to in this sculpture that it's found this new home. Also, you may wonder, well, what's back at Rosicrucian Park in its place? Well, many of you know the answer to that already. There is the Pythagoras sculpture, which is befitting because it continues in the Pythagorean tradition based on the canon Polyclitus model for the Augustus of Prima Porta statue and its symbolism. You'll note that Pythagoras here, important in the Rosicrucian tradition and his wisdom teachings, thought to be a manifestation of Apollo. It's actually based and copied on a work that's in Samos harbor in Greece. Very befitting because it's one of the places, Samos, where Pythagoras taught. Now, Pythagoras, is one of the important philosophers in the history of the Western world. He was deeply influenced concepts of astronomy, cosmology, mathematics, and philosophy. And the Pythagorean way of life has been a model of ethical and moral values that deeply resonate with our Rosicrucian tradition. Now, his study of the universe has helped inspire a closer connection of the divine for all of us thereafter. And this you're going back 2.5 millennia for his time point, is many part of the early development of scientific inquiry. It continues today. Now, in 2012, there was an authorized reproduction of this statue. It was created by Nicholas Icarus, and that's what you're seeing at this Pythagorico in Samos, Greece. It stands 8 feet 6 inches if you include the pointed finger there. I'm going to give you a little more close up here because you can see there's a right angle triangle there. That's also in the sculpture that's at Rosicrucian Park. As with the tarot card and with for the magician and the Hermes Trismegistus in the Hermetic tradition, as above, so below, Pythagoras stands with his right arm held upward. and his left arm down, and holding the right angled triangle associated with the Pythagorean theorem that we learned in school. Pythagoras, with his view upward towards the cosmos. It's a term that he helped coin, in fact, for the deep order of the universe, and it's something beautiful to look at. And with it located befittingly behind the Rosicrucian planetarium. You notice here we have the the two interlaced triangles to form the heptagram. If it was seven-sided like the bolt of CRC, it'd be a septagram. But we notice that there's the next type of heptagram back in here, befittingly based on two rotative squares to form the octagram. Again, sacred number and geometry, befittingly with Pythagoras and the great system and order that's portrayed in the Rosicrucian planetarium. Now, to conclude our presentation, I'd like to sum up by saying that we've looked at inspiring masterpieces of sculpture of the world, including some remarkable Rosicrucian connections, such as this Pythagorean sculpture and the Augustus of Prima Porta sculpture as well. So in this manner, we've experienced how Rosicrucian laws and principles can make a great difference in appreciating what lies before us and within us, not only in great masterpieces of art, but whatever is before us in our daily life. It's wonderful how we have, through nature and through the works of art, the keys that can draw forth the presence of the divine within, the master within, that we're ever called to draw out and help others to assist in, to experience as a work of service and fulfill the purpose in life. Thank you, fathers and sorors and participants, for joining us today.